Sergio Leone is one of the greatest and most influential directors in film history, which is saying a lot considering he's only made 7 films in his entire career. But when you're a true great like Leone, you don't need any more than that to cement your legacy. He is credited as the father of the spaghetti western, which is one of my personal favorite genres. He's made some of my all-time favorite films. I love his visual style, I love his characters, he's one of the coolest filmmakers ever, and having one of the greatest composers of all time as a frequent collaborator certainly can't hurt. Long story short, he's a genius and an inspiration. So I thought it would be fun to rank his films from my least favorite to my most favorite. He deserves a quality, thorough retrospective on YouTube. I just hope my video will suffice. Before I begin, please leave a like, subscribe to my channel, and share this video. I really appreciate it. So, without further ado, this is every Sergio Leone film ranked from worst to best. Number 7. The Colossus of Rhodes.
Rhodes now dominates the seas.
Though he's famous for making westerns, Leone's career began with sword and sandal films. Movies like Ben-Hur and the Ten Commandments, only cheaper and made in Italy. Here's a fun fact. Leone was an assistant director on the chariot race sequence in Ben-Hur, which is by far the most magnificent scene in the film. Unfortunately, Leone's directorial debut has none of the magnificence that Ben-Hur has. Leone's first film is by far his worst. Utterly boring, devoid of any personality, dull acting, no interest in the plot or the technical aspects of the filmmaking, just a generic sword and sandal film with nothing unique to make it stand out. The best thing about the film is probably the set design, which is grand and beautiful, sure, but really nothing special. Also, the action scenes are executed really poorly. Needless to say, Leone did a lot better with guns than with swords. And that's it. There's not much else to say about this film, really. This is the type of film that would have been left behind and forgotten by history. The only reason it's not is because it's the directorial debut of Sergio freaking Leone. You can really skip this one. It's only worth a watch if you want to see every single Leone film, but not for any other reason. So, a pretty abysmal start, but let's just say that his remaining 6 films are all bullseyes.
The turtle is the glory of King Sassy!
Number 6. A Fistful of Dollars.
Good shooting. Very good shooting.
Now, I know some would say that this placement is way too low, but allow me to explain. I think A Fistful of Dollars is a towering filmmaking achievement. It's a film that influenced an entire subgenre single-handedly. To me, it's like having The Last Supper as your 6th best painting, or Rubber Soul as your 6th best album. I'm not saying it's a bad film, I'm saying that Sergio Leone is an amazing director. So much so that he made 5 works of art that are even better than this work of art. This film marks the first collaboration between Sergio Leone and Ennio Morricone, and what a partnership that turned out to be. The music Morricone composed for Leone's films is truly something special. Though the results would get better down the road, you get your first glimpses of greatness here. You also have Clint Eastwood playing what is probably his most iconic role for the first time.
I don't think it's nice, you laughing. You see, my mule don't like people laughing. It's the crazy idea you're laughing at him. Now, if you apologize like I know you're going to, I might convince him that you really didn't mean it.
It's an unofficial remake of Akira Kurosawa's Yojimbo. The story is about a lonely, nameless drifter who arrives at a town divided between 2 rival gangs. He finds himself caught right in the middle as he tries to play both sides in order to cash in as much as possible. Gotta get that sweet, sweet cash. The story and the characters are not the reason this film is so legendary. It's all about the style. Leone incorporated extreme close-ups and juxtaposed them with extreme longs in order to create an atmosphere of grandness and scope. That, along with the soaring music, elevates this film to heights a lesser director could not hope to achieve. I'll never forget the first time I saw it and the impression it made on me. I never realized how awesome westerns could be until I watched A Fistful of Dollars. It's not perfect. As I said, the story and the characters are serviceable and are mostly used as a vessel for the style. But what a style! A must-watch, an amazing film, and yet Leone's made 5 movies that are even better. Number 5 is
Duck, you sucker.
from Leone's first western to his last. I'm putting Duck You Sucker over A Fistful of Dollars. Why? Because it's a better movie, get over it. The characters are better written, the story is more interesting, the music is better, yes, the music is better, and the film is just better made all around. By far the best thing about this film is the chemistry between the 2 main characters.
And when I got her pregnant, what'd he do? He fired her.
Jesus Christ, will you shut up and go and fix my motorcycle?
Okay.
Anything you say, firecracker.
You've got Juan, a Mexican bandit played by Rod Steiger, and Sean, or is it John? I'm not sure.
What is your name?
John.
That's fantastic. That is incredible, eh? My name is Juan and yours is John. It's Juan and John, eh?
An Irish demolition expert hiding in Mexico, played by James Coburn. They both find themselves embroiled in the Mexican Revolution, with Juan especially wanting none of it, and yet hilariously becoming a reluctant hero. The scene where he breaks into a bank in order to rob it, only to find that it's being used as a political prison and he frees all the prisoners, is one of the highlights of the film.
I don't want to be a hero. All I want is the money, the money. You told me one thing. What? How to get fucked.
The story is very strong here, although it's probably also the biggest reason why this film is so underappreciated. You see, the story, though lighthearted at times, can get very grim at parts. You have scenes of military brutality, dictatorial authoritarianism, mass executions. It's one of Leone's heaviest films for sure, with the ending being especially haunting. It's definitely not an easy watch like some of his more famous work, but if you put yourself in the right mindset going in, Duck You Sucker is a strong experience. The music, the cinematography, the gunslinging, all the elements are there and present. Oh, and let's not forget the explosions. So many explosions. They should call this film A Fistful of Dynamite. Oh, wait.
Now you understand why we need the firecracker? Huh?
What?
Number 4. Once Upon a Time in America.
Untie him.
I don't take orders from you.
We're not asking you to take orders, Joe. We're telling you. Now go ahead, untie him. Untie him.
It feels so wrong putting films this good not at the number 1 slot, but that's what happens when you're dealing with a master director. This is Leone's final film. He made it 13 years after Duck You Sucker, and it's also Leone's passion project. It's an epic crime drama based on an autobiographical novel written by an actual gangster. It really is Sergio Leone's Godfather. Only it's set during Prohibition, and it has way more Jewish people.
Untie him.
Nice matzo balls.
The film tells the life story of Noodles, played by Robert De Niro, all the way from childhood to old age. I won't talk about the plot because there's way too much plot to talk about in such a short time. It's a 4-hour movie told in non-chronological order. Yeah, make sure you've got a comfortable chair, folks, because you're gonna be sitting on it for a long time. What I will say is that this film is superb. It has a very nostalgic and introspective feel to it, very meditative. You have a lot of scenes of the characters just taking it all in. The scenery, the situation, remembering times long gone. The child scenes are very endearing. The film paints a unique picture of how it was like to live as a kid during that time. Even though the environment is harsh and the kids grow up to be despicable adults, the film still makes you love them and care for them. Whether it's a kid looking through a hole in the wall and peeking at his childhood crush, or another kid choosing between a cake or his first sexual experience and picking the cake. It's weird and wrong, but exciting and sweet at the same time. Sort of like being a kid. On the technical side of things, the cinematography is gorgeous and Ennio Morricone's score is fantastic. But make no mistake, even though it's visually pretty, this is not a pretty picture. There are some very uncomfortable scenes in this film, to say the least. But the film is so good, it really is worth your time, even if it is hard to watch. What else was there to say? Once Upon a Time in America is simply a masterpiece. And it's only number 4. God, this guy's made some great films. We have reached the top 3, and number 3 is... For a Few Dollars More.
Let Red go.
I can't. This film is so cool! You see what I mean? Leone's made some heavy films in his day, like the previous 2 entries, and I love them a lot, but my favorite films of his were always his more light-hearted, fast-paced, action-oriented spaghetti westerns. And with this one, you get one of the best ever. For a Few Dollars More may have a similar name to A Fistful of Dollars, but it's a film that completely stands alone, and it stands tall. For a Few Dollars More is everything A Fistful of Dollars is, only better in every single way. The story is much stronger and is told in a faster pace. Clint Eastwood plays the same nameless drifter from A Fistful of Dollars, only this time he encounters Colonel Douglas Mortimer, played by Lee Van Cleef. Mortimer is a badass. The 2 bounty hunters decide to work together in order to capture, dead or alive, the villainous outlaw El Indio. Indio is a great villain. He's dangerous and ruthless. You don't want to be on his bad side. His plan is to rob the Bank of El Paso, and it's up for our 2 main protagonists to stop him. People who know me know that characters and their relationships are the things that I care about the most in films. And the chemistry between the 2 bounty hunters and their relationship with the main villain is done really well. Clint Eastwood and Lee Van Cleef are awesome together. I just love watching them share the screen. The music in this film deserves special mention. It's not only amazing all by itself, which it is, but it has a meaningful role in the story. The music that comes out of the pocket watch is a crucial part of the finale. And what a finale it is! Tense, emotional, and awesome. Just like the rest of the film. This is one of these films that I can watch at any time, no special preparations needed, I'm always in the mood for it, and it always delivers. For a Few Dollars More is a timeless classic of the spaghetti western genre, and arguably the greatest bounty hunter film ever made. Number 2. Once Upon a Time in the West.
Well, you know music. And you can count. All the way up to 2.
All the way up to 6 if I have to.
A western to end all westerns. Once Upon a Time in the West has lofty ambitions, but it actually meets them. You can see it right away from the iconic opening scene, beginning with 3 outlaws waiting for a train and concluding with Harmonica's introduction. Harmonica is looking for Frank, played by Henry Fonda, who delivers an excellent performance. Frank is my favorite Sergio Leone villain. He begins the film by shooting a child. Back in the 60s, Henry Fonda shooting a child was an unimaginable proposition, but there it is. Just like Once Upon a Time in America, there's way too much to talk about in terms of the plot, so I won't go into it here. All I'll say is that it features a large cast of characters, each one of them memorable in their own way, and it's also one of the greatest revenge stories ever told. The thing that stands out the most to me when I watch this film is the unique way it makes me feel. The film is drenched with a sense of changing times, which causes a very bittersweet feeling that I don't experience in a lot of films. It's hard for me to put into words, but the film really makes me feel for the villains for some reason. When Frank tells Harmonica at the ending that
Morton once told me I could never be like him.
Now I understand why.
So you found out you're not a businessman after all.
Just a man.
That really resonates with me for some reason. I can't explain why. That's just an example of the strange emotions this movie makes me feel. The musical score Morricone composed for this film is immaculate, with the main theme, harmonica's theme, and Cheyenne's theme being the highlights. The cinematography is incredible. This may be Leone's most visually beautiful film. And Claudia Cardinale definitely adds to the beauty. I love the characters and their relationships. The only problem I have with the film is that it's really slow. Character motivations are purposefully vague until the end. It forces you to pay attention, which is difficult considering the slow pace. On the other hand, it's very rewarding on repeated viewings. Once Upon a Time in the West is a beautiful, emotional, and meaningful film. I love it to bits, but there's one film that I love even more.
And if one of them should pat you behind, just make believe it's nothing.
And my favorite Sergio Leone film is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
When you have to shoot, don't talk.
Here it is, Sergio Leone's magnum opus and one of the greatest motion pictures ever made. A perfect film is a beast that I do not believe exists, but The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly certainly comes closer than most. What can I say about this film that hasn't already been said? It starts with the main theme, which is iconic as hell. The introductions of the three titular characters are some of the best character introductions I've ever seen. I especially like the Bad's entrance, as he rides in on his black horse with the beautiful music in the background, and then proceeds to murder an entire family. Your main antagonist, ladies and gentlemen. The relationship between Clint Eastwood's Blondie and Eli Wallach's Tuco is one for the ages. Let's talk about Tuco for a second. He's one of my top 10 favorite characters of all time. He steals the show every time he's on screen. He's a rotten, dirty scumbag, but I love him. He keeps lying, cheating, and stealing all the way to our hearts. He's also the only one of the three that has any backstory, but it just makes us care about him even more.
Where we came from, if one did not want to die of poverty, one became a priest or a bandit. You chose your way, I chose mine. Mine was harder.
Eli Wallach, take a bow.
Whoever double-crosses me and leaves me alive, he understands nothing about Tuco. Nothing.
The reason this film is so fantastic is that it tells a complex story in a very simple way. Sure, it's about three people looking for a hidden stash of gold, but you also have the interchanging plot lines and encounters between the three characters. All the while the Civil War acts as a narrative backdrop, with it pushing into the main story and easing out without you even noticing. It's very complicated stuff, but because Sergio Leone is a master, he keeps everything focused and accessible. The genius of this film is that you can take it at face value and have a blast with it, but if you pay attention, you can appreciate its intricacies. It works as a basic spaghetti western and as an artistic masterwork. Of course, you've got the gunslinging, the action, the adventure, the sheer epicness, and it all culminates in what is the greatest finale in film history, hands down, no competition, just an utter masterpiece. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is the king of all westerns, my favorite Sergio Leone film, and quite possibly my favorite film, period. Thank you so much for watching. It's been a while since I last uploaded. I had a blast watching Sergio Leone's filmography in preparation for this video. I have some pretty exciting things coming down the pipeline, so subscribe to my channel to make sure you won't miss a thing. Thank you so much, and have a good one.